Right, but in this video we'll be talking about Manchester United midfield and kind of going through what the best partnership would be, going through some options, talking about the future of the midfield and who we can bring in and much more to them. Get to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into it. Now listen, the midfield is a problem for Manchester United. It's been neglected for a while, I feel. And I don't think Manchester United, especially the Glazers and Ineos, have bought in that position well. You look at some of the signings we bought over recent years in midfield. For that holding midfield position in particular, Ugarte was one of them. A few seasons, like if you go back, we bought Fellaini. Obviously, we've had Casemiro in them times. We've bought in Morgan Schneiderlin. But there hasn't been truly that one player who you can put into that midfield that will solidify that spot. Now you look at Manchester United in terms of our best midfield two right now. I think it's pretty obvious for me what our best midfield two would be. Don't think we're going to see it a lot, but it's crazy to say. I think in that number 6 position, as the deeper sort of midfielder, it has to be Casemiro. I think what we've seen of Ugarte so far, it's not been kind of positive at all, really. Yes, in pre-season, I thought he had a few good games, partner next to Kobbie Mainoo. He looked sharp in every of them, and he looked like a decent player. But you look at ever since this season started in the Premier League, he's just looked a bit lacklustre and a bit lethargic. I'm pretty sure Casemiro started most of the games. Obviously, I think Ugarte started against Grimsby, but Casemiro started most of the games. And yes, Ugarte is obviously a player that Amorim's had at Sporting, but do I think he's nowhere near good enough? Do I think he's good enough to be for Manchester United? Not right now. And yes, he might come with time. I think he's only 23. But he's not showing me enough signs where I think he can go and be a top Manchester United player. But I think at that number 6, Casemiro so far, and he has the intention to stay at Manchester United beyond this season, has looked very good in that defensive midfield. He looks good on the ball. He looks, well, I wouldn't say quick, but he looks like he can get around the place. I think he's always been good on the ball and has always been a great passer. Yes, there's obviously areas we can improve in terms of him running back. Sometimes he does get bypassed in midfield, but again, I think he's looked sharp. You look on the ball, and yeah, I think if you look at that deep lying position, I think he is probably the best out of him and Ugarte at the moment. Now in the number 8, again, this might sound controversial, but it might like trigger a few fans, but I don't think Bruno Fernandes has had the best start to the season. Yes, he's going to continue to play. And again, Amorim said him and Mainoo are fighting for that position. If they are, I want to see an actual bit of competition between them where they were actually competing. As of now, I don't think they are. I think it's more Bruno playing that position. And you're seeing, was it against Burnley? We had Bruno in the 10. He brought on Kobbie. Maybe with, obviously, Cunha. We don't know the extent of his injury. Maybe now that he's injured, which again is not a good thing. Wish him the speedy recovery, but if you have Casemiro and Kobbie, and you have Bruno in the 10, I think that could be something that does happen as well. So, listen, I think as of now, the strongest midfield two at Manchester United is Casemiro and Ugarte. Casemiro and Bruno. Again, people may agree. It could be Casemiro Mainoo. It could be Mainoo Bruno. I've seen a lot of people kind of thinking of that narrative, but that is my strongest two. Now, going into this season, again, it was a big thing for Ineos not to sign a midfielder. I think we needed a goalkeeper probably more than a midfielder, in my opinion. And listen, we've gone and got that keeper in Lemons. Hopefully he can be a top signing for us. And yeah, all in all, I'm very excited to see what he can offer. In terms of midfield, it's looking like next summer we're going to go back in for Belieber. So again, that's something that's really good in that aspect. I think he's a top player. Hopefully you can get him. Again, I think he can become that player that you have at the club for the next 10 years. He looks like a really good talent and a prospect. Yes, he has off games. But in terms of if you're looking at complete midfielders right now, and for the age and for the Prem experience that he has, again, I think he is that player. Now, again, you can look for players in the academy, or you can look for other players. I think if I was to pick some other players not in the academy that we could sign, you've got Adam Wharton. Again, but there's going to be a lot of clubs in him. I like João Neves before he went to PSG. He was a good player. But Belieber and Wharton are the main two. I think United, again, have to pick between one of them. In terms of an academy, hope and Sekou Kone can kind of pick up on his development. and he can go on and become a top player. I think someone who was signed with a lot of potential and a lot of prospects. You've got Jack Fletcher and Tyler Fletcher as well, two very good midfielders. Obviously we've got a few midfielders on loan, Toby Collier, who again, hopefully he can get some minutes. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. What do you think the strongest midfielders is? And yeah, if you were to bring in a midfielder, preferably now, obviously will be in January, or potentially in the next summer, who would it be? I think most people will probably agree with Belieber, but again, you could see some outlandish shouts in there as well. It could be some that I haven't heard of before. Let me know your thoughts.